Okay, coming up on Finding Better, a powerful, powerful story of a man who shares his journey of going from rock bottom self-esteem and basically being directionless through functional drug addiction and his journey in recovering through all of it. And now he helps hundreds and hundreds of people work through their own journeys. It's an amazing story. Rob Wentz is my guest, and you're not going to believe it. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I'm your host. And this is where we share real life experiences and wisdom from those experiences to share with you. Because, sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of people who have been there and done that. My guest today, I'm this is going to be really interesting. My guest today is Rob Wentz, and we're going to talk about his story and what he has done with his life. Let me just give you a little bit of a brief introduction to him. So there was a time in Rob's life when he lived a life of a drug addict, and a lot of his life was about self-sabotage. It was about breaking just about every promise he made to himself, tanking his self-worth, and spiraling into chaos. How's that for a description, Rob?
Perfect. Way to cue me up. Thanks a lot,
Yeah,
John.
that's right. Man, you are a winner. But here we go. But out of that mess, the idea is that Rob clawed himself out of all that. And he clawed his way back. He rebuilt his life. And now he helps hundreds and hundreds of other individuals and businesses find their own breakthroughs through their own catastrophe to gift moments. Rob, welcome to Finding Better. We're going to have a wonderful conversation.
John, thank you so much. I'm glad that I've been found better than I was at the beginning of that description. So I appreciate you
Well, I was going to say
taking me on the
you don't
journey.
look like a drug addict, right? And or maybe I just said that. But no, I'm just kidding. That
Hey,
I have
what does a drug addict look like? Let's be honest here.
exactly. And I'll tell you something. I have a number of friends who are alcoholics who are dealing with mental disorders, who are dealing in one case with drug addiction. And one thing about a lot of that is sometimes it never goes away.
Hmm.
And it's tough. It's tough. I've never lived that life. I've been fortunate not to, but I think there's a lot of people out there who are either struggling with it, have struggled with it, continue to struggle with it, or know somebody who's struggling with it and going through that
Yeah.
journey. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah. And two, a lot of people are good at hiding it. I was always really good at hiding it. I call myself
Yes.
a functional drug addict, right? And in some ways, it improved some of the areas that I was lacking at the time, right? So, uh, and functional alcoholics, like that's a thing. Like people, they get through their whole life being functional in the disability, if you want to call it that, or the addiction that they have. Um, and so
And
it's
hiding
it's
it all
hard to,
along.
and I don't know what's worse. I don't know what if it's hiding it worse or being blatant out in the open about it worse. I don't know
Yeah.
because I was never blatant out in the open about it, but hiding it makes it really hard because there's a lot of shame in there and people don't know. So you can hide it and you have to deal with it by yourself that whole time.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That sounds pretty intense because, in your journey of hiding it, you have to live with it and you have to hide it. I mean, you have to spend the energy of, and I would imagine that part of hiding it is a fear of people finding out. On the other hand, and how they're going to react to it. On the other hand, you can be transparent. You could put it out there, and what the way I kind of describe it is you can put it out there and make it their problem, right? If they're not going to accept you or if they're going to judge you, you know what? That's if they do that to me, that's not my problem, man. I'm out there and being honest. I've put it out there. So, you got that dynamic of those two ways of doing it. What was your journey? I
Well,
mean,
I always
eventually you came out, right?
yeah, well, when you're saying that, I think like think of like rock stars or like famous rappers who like they talk about in their songs, they're doing drugs, like they're out in the open about it.
Absolutely.
It's like part of their identity. And so I always thought about that, like, wow, it would be kind of nice in a way to not have the shame and guilt, just to be unashamed of like, hey, look at me, I'm a disaster and I'm on drugs, because some people do that, and it's like celebrated, right? It's like, and honestly,
Yeah.
it's like the
Yeah.
celebrated thing that they like embrace, like this is a part of who I am. And for me, it was never like that. It was like this behind closed doors, people that
Sure.
knew me in that light, knew what I was doing, but other people would never have any idea, or maybe they did have an idea and just never said anything. But yeah, it was, I think, a lot harder. It was difficult because it started drugs, and I would say the first drug's probably sugar. That's probably the first one.
Uh,
And then the
yeah.
second one's probably masturbation. That was probably the second one, right? So that comes along in like, sixth grade or seventh grade or somewhere along there. I don't know. And then like I just had friends who, smoked weed, and then those friends then people take pills, and then it just goes and goes. And um unfortunately, growing up, and I can remember when I was 18 years old, I said to myself, I need to have more friends. That was like my thing. Because I had a couple friends that were like my core group of friends, but I was like, I need more
Yeah.
friends. And so my thought was not, I need to go out and find really good people to be my friends. No, it was like anybody who wants to be my friend can be my friend. Because I had low self-esteem,
Oh, yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I didn't have
Yeah.
high self-worth. And so in that regard, the worst people came in. I shouldn't say the worst, because nobody that I was with was like a bad person. We were just lost people and with
Yeah.
no direction. And it just led me down just like a slow descent. And really, I think that, I don't know, some people maybe they don't have addiction in their family and they're the first ones to become addicts. But for me, like alcohol addiction, I would say, is a common theme on both sides of my family. And so,
Oh.
and also, I would say low self-esteem and sort of like directionlessness. And so those things were kind of like already there, right? So anything that was like and that made me feel a little bit different or better than how I naturally felt was like, oh wow, I'll take that, because I don't like the way
So
that I naturally feel.
that is really um powerful. I mean, it just kind of made me go boom. When you said low self-esteem and directionless, right? And you said that your low self-esteem, I'm paraphrasing, and if I paraphrase this wrong, correct me. But I think you said that your low self-esteem led you to want accepting friends, anybody that wanted to be your friend,
Yeah.
and so that bar wasn't very high,
No,
right?
there was no, if you were doing the limbo, you could walk underneath the limbo stick, right? There was no like challenge. It was just
Wow.
like
So and
anybody could get through the door.
and do you think and I think I know the answer to this, but um, it would seem to make sense to me that, folks who have low self-esteem, who don't think highly of themselves, who are directionless, are at risk, are at much higher risk of um, of becoming part of that culture, if you will.
Oh yeah, 100%. A hundred
So
percent because
parents build your kids' self-esteem.
yeah,
I think is one of the big yeah,
help them to find out, help them to figure out who they are. It's one of my goals with my kids, is like helping them to know who they are, because my search was, I never knew who I was, right? I didn't know who I was. So I was always searching for something to show me who I am, instead of from the inside being like, oh, I know who I am. I can live from that. So I'd like
right,
try to bring people in, bring drugs in. There was always like this void, this emptiness. Uh, how else I could kind of describe it? Like there was like something was missing. Like I didn't feel okay just being me. So something else had to make me feel okay. And so, I
right.
mean, that's just a recipe for disaster.
It sounds like you were looking for you out there. I
Yeah.
mean, you were looking for you, and that's what a lot of people do. And I'm finding as as I'm doing more and more of my hosting of podcasts, talking to amazing people like you, that just seems to be a common thing for a lot of people is that, your happiness is not out there. You are
Yeah.
not out there. You are right here, right? You're right here in
Yeah.
your heart. And
It's
yeah,
hard. It's a
that's
very,
that's
like, it's
amazing.
once you understand that, it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes it easier. But then if you've never taken the time to like find who you are, to understand who you are, how to be centered in that, it's really a very foreign concept. That's a really, it was a very hard concept for me to grasp. Like, I don't need anything. I can just be okay being me. Like, I'm still working on that, right? It's not
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
done
yeah,
deal,
we
but
all are.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, totally. So from that all, as you are now taking that energy, taking that experience. And by the way, I love you for this. What a wonderful gift that you're giving to people, right? As you're
Oh,
out there
thanks.
helping people and helping businesses, find their purpose, find out who they are. What do you, as you're working, let's say an individual, and a business is just a bunch of individuals, right? What are you doing? What are you doing to help them?
Well, first, helping them see who they are, like really see it. Hopefully, they can see it. Trying my best to get them to see it. So you can go through assessments, right? There's a million different assessments you could take somebody through to help point out their gifts, their strengths, their weaknesses, maybe their blind spots, right? There's so much value in helping somebody to see those things because if you can't see your blind, the old saying, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know
Yeah.
something, how do you can't learn about it, you can't fix it. So just bringing that self-awareness to the surface and helping people have that self-awareness. And I often find in business it's a lot easier because usually, especially with guys, if you go to work with them and they don't really want to get deep. Women are more open to getting deep quickly, but
Yep.
guys are a little bit more guarded. But if you start talking business, then you can talk about the issues that are coming up in business. So, working with a business, right? One of the things is, oh, we can't find good employees. People won't stay. Okay, so why won't people stay? It's usually not because usually the main reason is leadership is not good. You're not building people up. You're not empowering people to be accountable for themselves, and that's a personal personality flaw that needs to be looked at and assessed so you can see that in people and help build other people up. So if you've just think of it this way, John, if you have low self-esteem, you can only help people to the level that you've grown. So if you
That's
haven't
true.
grown, if you haven't done the self-discovery part, then you could be a manager, you could be a boss, you could be an owner, but if you haven't personally developed to a point where you empower people, then you're just going to hold people back to the level of the personal development that you've done. And it's easy to say, a bit of a harder concept maybe to like fully grasp, but just think about like if you've ever driven a car that has like one of those regulators on it that won't let it go above like 50 miles an hour. It's like I know this car can go 120 if I really pushed it, but because it's regulators on it won't go any faster. And that's
Right.
kind of like where we all of us have a limit to how far we can go and how far we can bring people along. And so
Right.
the main thing I do is help people become aware of the things they might not be aware of, and then how do we work on those things? How do we get better at those things?
Yeah.
And how do we
Yeah.
get outside of ourselves to lift others up?
So here's the thing, I think about what you just said about leadership and about people, quote unquote, in power. I think a lot of people out there, including myself, we have experienced leaders and bosses who don't empower their people, right? They have that speed regulator on there, if you
Hmm.
will, and they don't let their people go past 50 miles an hour when they're capable of going 300 miles an hour. And so are those the kinds of folks that you uh, are some of the kinds of folks that you talk to and you try to help break through their own limitation to enable them to have the confidence to empower their people?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Usually when I work with somebody, they have to be empowered to want to grow, right? So they have to already be at a place where they know they need to get better. They have that
Okay.
growth mindset, that lifelong learning mindset. They want to grow, they want to be challenged to go to the next level. And so honestly, if you're not at that place, it's really hard to coach somebody who's not at that place. It's like, how do you,
Got it.
because they're not
Got
going to
it.
reach out to me. They're not going to be like, hey, I want to get better at this thing or this thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially in their,
Yep.
but in the business, when we talk on a business end, somebody might be struggling in a certain area. They can't find the right employees, or maybe there's no accountability in the organization. Deadlines aren't being met. People aren't doing their jobs, whatever it might be. And so I have a bit of a door there of like, okay, so these are the problems. Now, the solutions are not going to be what you think of. The solutions are going to start with you and improving yourself, right? So that can be a in that otherwise, if it wasn't a business, it would be hard to get in and actually talk to somebody like that because there's a lot of
Yeah.
pride.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of
I
pride,
get it.
right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
same
Yep.
here. I mean, pride can be so difficult to get around. So I look for people who they have to be at a breaking point, either business or personally. Like I need to change.
Yeah.
Things need to get
Yeah.
better. And a surrendering. I don't know what to do. How do we do
Yeah.
this?
And it kind of goes back to what you said earlier of people don't know what they don't know, right? And you can't go out to people and say, "Hey, listen, you want to you want to talk to me about something you don't a problem you don't know you have." You know, you can't do that, right? And so
Exactly. Yeah. How do you do that?
yeah. Well, listen, one of the things that you talk about is life's purpose, right? And I did a little bit of homework on you, right? And there's a simple question that you say can reveal a person's life purpose. What is
Yes.
that?
I've used it many times. I'm not gonna say it's 100% effective, but it's definitely worked to direct people. So my question would be, it's a
There you
simple
go.
question. What did you want to be when you were 10 years old? And I want to ask you that, John. What did you want to be when you were 10?
I wanted, what did I want to be when I was 10 years old? This is going to sound really, really just silly. I wanted to be rich. And
Okay.
I knew I wanted to be rich because I loved giving away money.
Oh, wow.
Ever since I can remember, whether it be on a paper route or collecting bottles and cans or, collecting newspapers to sell back to the recycling, back in 1967, that was a thing. Um, but I made money. And, because the ice cream man came around every day. And I just loved treating my friends to ice cream. And so at 10 years old, and to this day, I just love giving away money and being generous. And so yeah, yeah,
That's amazing. I
it's
love that.
about giving.
I've never heard that one before. Yeah, just you wanted to be rich so you could give money away.
I told you it
That's a
was going
good
to
one.
sound silly.
Well, it's
Yeah,
not silly. That's amazing. Like what an honorable thing to want to do whenever you're 10 years old. So that's really cool. But so what, and you already answered the question though. What is the heart behind that? So usually somebody will say, somebody before said they wanted to be a paleontologist. Now this person was like a coach, therapist, counselor, right? They wanted to be a paleontologist. They wanted to like dig up dinosaur bones.
sure.
And I was like, okay, so what does being a paleontologist have to do with being a counselor, being a coach? And so as we went through that and dissected, it's like there's mystery, right? The paleontology is like uncovering mysteries, finding out
Absolutely.
these hidden truths that nobody knows, and you're the one uncovering them, and you're helping solve these mysteries. And counseling, coaching is that like you're helping people uncover and solve
Oh,
these
yeah.
mysteries in their life. For me, I wanted to be a radio DJ and a professional wrestler. Those are the two big things. I loved radio and I loved professional wrestling. So the radio one, I was a radio DJ for 20 years, so I did do that for a long time. But what I, it's going back to go back to the beginning here, I didn't know who I was growing up, right? So it was like I had a
Yeah.
version inside of me that I didn't know how to get out. And so unknowingly back then, I realized this many years later after I left radio, what I was doing back then was I wasn't a good communicator. I was very shy and introverted. So obviously, radio, I can sit in a room by myself and talk to people. They can hear me, I can't hear them, so I can't be judged, right? It's just me doing it. And
Exactly.
and I get to have attention, right? So I wanted attention. I wanted to be somebody. And I used air quotes in case you're listening, be somebody. Like I wanted to like be known for something. And it was like this I got to learn how to be myself over years being in radio. So like it brought me out of my shell so I could learn how to be me.
Hmm.
And as I learned how to be me, I realized, oh, people actually like who I am. And the more real I was, the better the job got. The more fake I was, the worse the job got.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of truth there. And the professional wrestling, I mean, I love exercising. I love like the theatrical end of it, like just kind of like being a bigger, over the top kind of personality. Always was kind of cool to me. Not that I really embrace that much now in my life, but I just loved the theatrics of it and the fantasy of it. That whole thing.
I
Um,
got to tell you something. I got to tell you something. One thing I learned. Okay, so in the old days, and maybe to a certain extent these days, but I'll tell you, these wrestlers out there, they are incredible athletes. And
oh yeah,
growing up, it was kind of fake, and you could tell they were fake. But there's a time in my life when I spent a lot of time in martial arts, and we were a low contact dojo, right? But I'll tell you, the first time somebody punched me hard, it was on. It was on. I mean, we were going after each other, and I'm like, "Did you do that on purpose?" Right? And so I can
yeah,
imagine these guys, these great big wrestling guys, doing their thing, and then all of a sudden somebody goes a little bit too far.
yeah, right. And
and
then you got to
and you
give it
know
back to them. Then they give it back
yeah,
to you. Probably just
exactly,
like
exactly. And
escalates.
then it just escalates, and then all of a sudden it's just
But
over.
and I never thought of this. One of the reasons I do love professional wrestling is because it's teamwork. Like it looks like a combat sport, but it's actually two people working together, really trusting each other to make something look really good. And
Yep.
I love teamwork. I love seeing people work well together. I love working well with people. I don't like conflict. I like being able to connect with somebody, click with people. And I've always had this like just natural gift to connect with people. Like it's not something I try to do, it's just kind of happens. And so that's another thing I think that I always got from professional wrestling that I never realized. But the point of the question is that question's fun. First of all, what did you want to be when you're 10?
Absolutely.
Like
That is really interesting.
when I asked you that question, I could see you kind of light up. You were like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah,
You think back to
yeah.
being a kid, you think back to like cuz when you're 10, you're old enough to know what you love and you don't need a reason to love it. And you're young enough that the world hasn't tried to mold you and shape you into something that it feels you should be. And so there's a sweet spot there of like whatever that is. And if I can help people figure out what that thing was, they don't have to be the thing that they wanted to be when they were 10,
Right,
but
right.
what is the essence of it? And
Oh
how
my
do they
gosh, I
apply that to what
love
they're
that.
doing now?
I love that because you did, right? I mean, when you asked me about John, you said, "John, what did you want to be when you were 10 years old?" I mean, all of a sudden you gave me permission to go back and go, "Oh, wow," right?
Yeah.
And I just want to share that with the whole audience. I mean, try it. I
It's
mean,
fun.
ask
It's fun to
yourself,
ask.
what did you want to be when you were 10 years old? And go there. Go
Yeah.
there. Right? That was really cool. I
Yeah,
love that.
I honestly, it gives me goosebumps whenever I talk about it because there's like magic there. There's like my son right now is 10, and it's fun. Like 10 years old is such a fun age because like you're grown up enough to like I can have full conversations with him, but he still lives in like that world of fantasy and play
Yeah.
and I love
Yeah.
that. That's a great place to live. And I actually, one of my prayers is that I'd love to live. I want to continue to grow so I can get back to that place. I want to
You
go
know, I
back to that place of living in that.
I would tell people when my kids were young, and I still do. I mean, they're now in their 30s. That I want to be just like my kids when I grow up,
Yeah,
you know? And
yeah,
and there's a lot of truth to that,
yeah,
especially 10-year-olds. I've got my oldest grandson now is 7. And just uh, something happens when they reach 12 or 13. I mean, they hit that point where the world reaches them.
yeah.
I feel like where, especially the dads. The dads
Right.
go from hero to zero in about 3.2 seconds.
Yeah.
And we
I don't
never
even want
know
to
when
hear it.
those
Don't say it. I don't want it to happen. I know it's coming, but I don't want it to happen.
Well, here, I want to tell you this. I want to tell you this. Sorry. And I think it's just the natural order of things. Little boys want to get out, right? And and but there was a friend of mine once told me he called it the dumb decade, and he says the dumb decade starts in the early teens and then goes for about 10 years. And that's just when everybody goes stupid.
Yeah,
Their friends are smarter than you, they're way cooler than you, and all that kind of stuff.
so
And
true.
he told me, and he told me this a long time ago. He says, but they always come home. And I'll never forget. It was my son might have been, I mean, he must have been like 25. And he started his dumb decade when he was 14 or 15. So it was almost like clockwork. And we're watching TV, and all of a sudden he turns to me. He says, "Hey, Dad." I said, "Yeah." He says, "God, I hated you." I said, I mean, just out of the blue, Rob. And I said, "Oh, well, thanks, bud." He goes, "No, no, no, man, Dad, I just want to share this with you." He says, "You know, you and Mom gave me a 2 a.m. curfew." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I hated you for that." I said, "Seriously?" He goes, "Yeah, none of my friends had a curfew. None of them had a curfew." And I said, "Okay." And he says, "So I couldn't be bro." And I hated you for that.
I couldn't be
So
bro.
I couldn't be bro. That's what
What
they
does
call
that?
it, bro. Yeah, right?
What does that mean?
I couldn't
What
be
is
a
bro?
brother. And
Right, yeah.
yeah, right. I
I
couldn't
can't
be
I
cool. I
can't
couldn't
stay
be
up
with
till
the
6
gang.
a.m. with my friends.
Yeah, exactly. And so I said, "Well, dude," I said, "it is what it is. It was what it was, and that's how we did things."
Well,
And
if
he
I if
says,
I
"Well,
could speak, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
just let me just finish this because this is a punchline." He says, "No, Dad, listen, I want to say thank you." I said, "You what?" He says, I want to thank you. He says, "Because now I get it. Now I get it." And so we talked about it, and he says, "I'm the person who I am today, who I really, really like because of a lot of things that you did to me growing up." And so my message to you, Rob, is that my experience has been you gotta let them go, but they do come back.
Yeah, but you gotta have, like, you had still had guardrails in place. And I listen.
Yeah.
I have great parents. My mom, she loves me dearly. She's wonderful, but she never really enforced anything with me. And
Mm.
my parents were divorced. I was with my dad, like, 4 days out of the month. So my mom, on my mom's end, she didn't really force any roles like that. And I look at that and I'm like, man, I wish she would have, because, and it's okay that she
Uh,
didn't. I mean, I learned a lot from it. I definitely learned a lot. But those 2 a.m.s, like, nothing good happens after midnight, 1, 2
yeah,
a.m. Like, only
exactly.
really bad, only really, and honestly, and I wish I
Yeah.
would have, and I'm going to instill this in my son, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that curfew in, because that's where the drugs come in. That's where all the stuff that you shouldn't be doing. Nothing good happens at 2 a.m. Nothing. Like, you don't need to be up at 2 a.m. It's
That's
pointless.
right.
And it's so true. It's so true. And I didn't get it when I was younger. Looking back, I'm like, yeah. I mean, my friends and I party until 6 a.m. Like, what a waste of time. It's such a waste. I could go out and have fun till midnight or 2 and go home and go to bed, right? But we'd be up all night, and it's just dumb. So great advice. That's great advice.
Well, good. Well, good. And this is such a fun conversation because we're talking about life, right? And we're talking about parenthood. We're talking about our kids, and making all that better. All right. So one of the things that you talk about is the formula for finding breakthroughs,
Mm.
right? The formula, so because what a lot of people aren't in a position of being addicted, although you started with sugar, so that's most of the country. But
Right. Yeah.
everybody out there at some point in time, if not constantly, is looking for a breakthrough to something, right? So what is that formula?
Yeah. And breakthrough, like, it can apply to every aspect of life. We
Good.
all should constantly want to break through, right?
Yep.
There should always be it doesn't, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be content where you are, but it does mean you should always strive for more. And we need to have breakthroughs. So The six things that I found that were really powerful for me, that made an impact on me were number one, you need to have a vision. You have to know what the vision is for where you're going.
Okay.
A lifetime vision, boil that down to like this week. What's my vision? Like who am I? What am I moving towards? Why am I moving towards it? And living in that place, because it always drives you forward. And anybody, any leadership coach, anybody you talk to in this world is going to talk about vision because it's the most important thing. And without vision, the people perish, right? It's biblical. It's in the Bible. It's like that's what happens.
Yeah.
People fall apart when they don't have a direction. That's what happened to me. I was directionless. So that's one of
Mm.
them. Impact. By the way, I call it the vital system, VITALS. So each letter of that it's an acronym. So the I is the impact. So when you say words, people's names will pop into your head. Like if I said to you, John, if I said the word leadership, is there somebody's name that pops into your head?
Gandhi.
Okay, incredible leader. Right. So his
Yeah.
name is synonymous with the word leadership, right? So we should strive and desire to have like, what are our values? Like for me, like integrity is a huge value. I want to be known
Mhm.
for somebody who had really high integrity. And
Right.
so what does that mean? That means that I can't lie. I have to work on these things. I have to be, my word is my bond. I have to do what I say. And those are that's impact, right? We want to make you want to make a positive impact on people's lives. The T is technology. So if you want to find breakthrough,
Ah,
technology is all around us at all times. Can't get away from it. Even if you try, you can't get away from it. So how do we use technology and not let it use us? And that's huge, I think, for breakthrough because especially right now in the world we live in, technology it uses us and it like
yes.
depletes us. It dictates our moods, dictates what we think, what we look at, the echo chamber we find ourselves in. So how do we use technology and not let it use us? Which podcasting I think is a great example, right? We're using a platform right now to have a powerful conversation instead of mindlessly scrolling Facebook or something.
Right, right. Let me just mention a quick comment on the technology thing. I
Yeah.
think that is so poignant, especially today with the rise of AI.
Oh yeah.
Just about every podcast episode I do, I at some point in time insert AI in it, and this is the place, because the fact of the matter is, I don't care who you are, start learning AI. It's out there. It's so easy to learn. And there's so many people that are like, oh my gosh, I'm not a technologist. I'm not a person who is, it just sounds so complicated.
Hmm.
I did a podcast episode with a PE teacher who in the last year and a half has become an AI expert. Now, let me explain how powerful that statement is. She became an expert in AI in a year and a half. How long would it take somebody to become an expert in physics or in mathematics
Right.
or in technology, right?
Their
Other
life,
technology,
yeah, like
STEM.
it
Yeah,
could
it's a
take a
lifetime, right?
yeah.
But because AI is so new and it's so rapidly rising and it is so easy to learn. And folks, this is not one of those things that, yeah, this is not one of those things that is an option. You are going to learn it at some point in time, whether you like it or not, because it's just part of our life. So my encouragement is start now. If you know you're going to have to learn it at some point,
Yeah.
start now. So thank you for that comment on
And that's
technology.
that's and also if something's because AI scares me, honestly, it makes me uncomfortable and nervous and
Totally.
I wish they'd shut it off. But at the same time, I'm like, well, that's not happening, so I need to like understand what's going on.
And you know what? That's an amazing point. A lot of people are fearful of it, and I am too. I am too. But like everything in life, you can look at things on the negative side, or everything has got a flip side to it, right? And
Yeah.
so you can focus on the negative and be fearful of it, or you can embrace the positive parts of it and say, you know what? There are ways that you can enhance your life incredibly with this stuff. If the bad stuff happens, the bad stuff happens. I can't do
Right.
anything about that.
And that's
But in the
that's it. Yeah.
meantime, in the meantime, use the good. Use the part that can change your life. And if you start looking into it, you're going to be astonished at what it can do for you.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely incredible, and it's scary because it's so big and vast and all encompassing, and then even beyond that. I mean, whatever. We won't go down that road. But the point is, yeah, use technology. Don't let it use you. So that's the
Yep.
T.
Yep. There you go.
The A for it is action. You got to take action. Nothing was ever done by thinking of ideas. Everybody has ideas. Everybody's had a great idea. Everybody has had tons of ideas probably that could make them $1 billion. But who takes
Yeah.
action on the execution?
Exactly. Exactly.
It's all
Exactly.
execution. So how are we executing on the things in our life I mean that talk about breakthrough. You have to take action to have a breakthrough. You can't just sit around and wait for a breakthrough to happen.
There
Like
you
you have to
go.
do something. The L is for leadership. You got to be a leader of your own life. And I think leadership is also a word that's gotten a bad rap and it's misunderstood in our culture. We all need to be leaders of our own lives. When I was a drug addict, when I was lost and trying to praying to God, somebody be my friend, somebody just be my friend, right?
Oh,
I wasn't being a leader of my life. I wasn't leading myself. And looking to the world to lead you, it's going to lead you astray. You need
yeah.
to lead your life. And as a Christian myself, God leads me. That's my leader. But we have to have a sense of this is so important. Like, I need to take action for my life. I need to lead my life. If I don't do it, somebody else is, something else is. You can't have nothing leading you. If you're unaware, that's like the unknown unknowns, right? If you don't know what's leading you, then you're totally unaware that you're being pulled in different directions all the time by forces that you're not even paying attention to. And they're probably on your phone most of the time, right?
Yeah.
You're probably
Yeah.
staring at them. And the last one is service. So the vital system, right? Vision,
Ah,
impact, technology,
that's
action, leadership,
wonderful.
and service. And service is many years,
It's
well,
what
not
it's all
many,
about.
but and this is true, John. A decade ago, I started on this personal, or maybe 11 years ago, I started on this personal development journey. And I was listening to Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins said to have a successful business, you have to be of service to people. And this is how backwards my thinking was. I was like, why would I have to serve people to have a successful business? Like that didn't make sense to me. That's how off I was, right?
It's like,
That's
huh?
how self-centered. That's how self-centered I was. So
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
being of service is so important because you grow so much from serving people. And also, if you are a selfish person, you gain so much from serving people also. Like it's the win-win-wins. The more wins you can create by helping others, the more you win from that also. But if you're always just focused on you winning, man, that is you're sucking the soul out of yourself and everybody around you. So being of service, and that's why I love your answer. Being 10 years old, you were being of service at 10. You were making money so you could help people and get buy them ice cream. Like that's the real goal. And it was so hard for me to grasp that concept. And now that I understand it, it's like right. It's the only like if just in my message too. One of the things I always talk about is make your mess your message. And the whole point of making your mess your message is if you go through something really hard in life and you get through it, why wouldn't you use it to help somebody else? What is the point of going through difficult things except to help
That's
other people
amazing.
get through
I
them?
love that. And that's why I said at the very beginning, I love you, man. I love you because you're taking your mess and you're making a message out of it and you're sharing it with other people and helping people. As you were talking about taking action, I gotta say this. I'm sure a lot of people have heard this, but paraphrasing, the greatest regrets you're going to have are not in the things that you did, but in the things that you didn't do.
Hmm.
And everybody's got greatness in you, in all of us, right?
Yeah.
And we just have to bring it out. And one thing that really helped me, a friend of mine, his name is Dave Gibbons, amazing, amazing man. And he once told me, he says, forgiveness is a greater miracle than the parting of the Red Sea. I'll let you guys think about that yourself. But he
Mm.
he he had me do an exercise, and the exercise had two questions. And the two questions were, what gives you energy and what sucks your energy out of your life?
Mm.
So what gives you what happens? What are the things that happen when you feel like you're just getting energy and you're just like, yeah, man, that is awesome. And what are the things in your life that suck the energy out of you? And I literally wrote,
Hmm.
and it really helped me. It really helped me get
It's a
some
good
clarity,
question.
right? and and part of it, was led me to um, my purpose statement. And but yeah, but it helped me learn. And when you understand and you write down the things that suck the life out of you, you just look at it and you go, ew, why am I letting that happen?
Yeah.
Right? And get rid of it.
Yeah.
Don't do that stuff. And don't let that stuff happen to you. And
Yeah,
so
and
anyway, I just
unforgiveness.
want to share
That's
that.
I wrote that down. It's really good. Unforgiveness and resistance, I find, are the things that sap energy so much. And
Totally.
especially for me,
Totally.
I've learned recently. I have a 10-month-old, and he wakes up. I'm not a morning person. He's a morning person. He likes to be up at 5 a.m. I'm like, wow, man, what are we doing here? And so I've had so much resistance towards why are we waking up so early? And it's so funny because like I'm resisting a 10-month-old. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just wakes up. He's a baby.
Yeah,
Like he
that's
doesn't have it.
right.
He's not like oh, it's time for me to get up and get at it. He just wants to get up. He just wakes up and he's
And you
ready
know
to
what?
go.
As a 10-month-old, not knowing any better, he's probably more right than you are.
Yeah, he is, right. Yeah, very true. Um, and so I've been resisting it. And I recently had a podcast with a woman, Gina, on my podcast. She was amazing, and she helped me to realize I'm I'm being rigid, and I don't have enough flexibility. And it's so true. I can be really rigid in my thinking and how things are supposed to happen. I can be really rigid in like, and that's also that goes for forgiveness. You get really rigid in how somebody's
Absolutely.
supposed to be,
Absolutely.
how you were supposed to be treated, how things were supposed to go. Why was I so wronged? Why won't that person change? Instead of being
Yep.
flexible and open. And when you're flexible, it's like, well, that's okay. I can bend and I can one of the things I talk about is like being pliable, right? So being like leather. Good leather is super bendable but doesn't break. So
Yep.
being able to be yourself without break and bend to people, right? Because in order to connect with people, you got to bend to them, but you don't want to break. And for me, that's been a great lesson, a really hard lesson that I'm learning right now. I'm finding it way more
That is
difficult than I thought.
that is so cool because the exact what popped into my head is iron, an iron bar, right?
Mm.
Especially for men. We're raised to be strong. We're raised to be tough. We're raised to
Yeah, don't
whatever the hell
bend.
we're right.
Yeah,
Don't
just
bend.
break things down. Just get
Don't compromise.
no matter
Right?
what, get it done. Yeah.
Exactly. And now what you're saying is instead of being this piece of iron, right? Be this flimsy piece of leather.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, if you
I
when
love
ever
that. That is
anybody who's
so
ever had a
cool.
baby, which you have, I mean, you have to with a baby, you have to be flexible
Yeah, you have to
because they
be.
have no schedule. Like it's just
That's right. That's right. It's
or they have a
amazing.
schedule, but it's just their schedule and they don't bend to anybody for it.
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
they but yeah. But for you
All right.
mentioned forgiveness and forgiveness is so it's so it can be so hard. Forgiveness is hard because when somebody
Incredibly
brings
hard.
it up, it's like, oh, sure, I got to forgive them, and I'll say, all right, I forgive that person, I forgive them, and then it comes up again, and I got to forgive them again, and then it comes up again, and you got to forgive them again. It's like, oh, I forgave him, it's over. No, it's like that's a long, that can be a very long journey of forgiveness.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about forgiveness, right? The first time you do it, it's really hard. It's really hard. Right? And here's the thing, folks, you don't have to go to the person or whatever it is
Yeah,
and say, I
right.
forgive you. You just have to say it in your heart and say, you know what? I'm not going to carry this anymore. You're probably not even thinking about it anymore. I'm forgiving you. You take this burden. I'm getting on with my life. And
Yeah.
so but when you do that, the first time is really hard. The second time is not as hard. The third time
Mhm.
gets easier still. And forgiveness is like everything else. It's like a muscle, right? You build that muscle and you learn to do it. And over time, it just becomes part of who you are. And it's really a wonderful thing of just being able to let go of that bullshit energy that you're that you are choosing to hold on to,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
and
a
that's
beautiful thing.
That awareness, right? I'm choosing, and it's so hard to understand that in like the midst of unforgiveness. Like I'm choosing to do this.
Right.
This is by
That's right.
choice that
That's
I'm not
right.
letting this go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's really good.
So,
Really good.
okay, so there's a couple things, a couple more, two more questions to close out with. Okay.
Yeah.
First one, why is being yourself the boldest move you'll ever make?
Because most people aren't themselves. I mean, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and
Mm,
it's easy to want to please. It's easy to like bend to people and let them, get their way, and for you to not do what you were supposed to do. I think it's very bold to be you. A lot of people don't know who they are. They don't know how to be themselves. And me included, I'm still learning how to do it, but it's like the more I'm myself, the better I feel. But it's bold to be yourself. It's bold
it
because
is. It
the
is.
world wants you to be a certain way. People want you to be a certain way so they feel okay. So to be you is really hard.
You're absolutely right. We spend so much of our life living by other people's expectations, don't we?
Yeah.
And when I realized that, and it was just this mind-blowing aha moment that I'm living my life based on how other people want me to live my life, on how other people think I should live my life, and how
Or
what other people think.
the hardest one is how you think other people think you should live your life.
There you go.
That's a really hard one because it's like
That's a hugely hard
I
one.
don't even know how that person wants me to live. I'm just thinking this is how they think they want me to
Exactly,
live. It's
exactly,
like,
exactly. Amazing point. Amazing point. And it's it and when you can learn to stop doing that, life gets so much easier
does
because
that get better with age?
it actually does because the more you experience it, the more you realize, what am I doing? Right? And when you realize that and you flip that script and you say, you know what, I'm going to live my life based on my expectations,
Mm.
and write it down and set your goals and set your vision and set what that person you want to be that you knew at 10 years old, right? Like you were saying.
Yeah. Instead of trying
It
to be the
does.
bro, right? Because you were trying to be
Yeah,
the bro this whole
there you
time.
go. There you go. There you go. And it takes courage, it takes guts, because you're going to put yourself out there and you're going to
Yeah.
say, here I am, world. But it's the most liberating thing you can do for your life,
Yeah.
that says, this is me. So yeah, that's very cool. All right, last question. Um, and this is something I saw in one of the interviews that you did. But how do you deal with a-holes while keeping your integrity?
I think the best way to deal with a-holes while keeping your integrity is to ask them questions and just this is something I've had to deal with is let people okay, let me back up for a second. If you have somebody in your life that is a constant pain to you, recognizing that you're showing up a certain way every time you show up with that person. You're showing up in a I'm presuming this person's going to be an a-hole. And
Yep,
so I show up
yep,
this way. I'm already on defense. I'm already being
yep,
a certain way.
yep,
So showing up in a way that sees that person, showing up in a way that like really sees that person, right? Because usually the a-hole or this person who's always challenging other people, somebody doesn't like really sit down with them and ask them questions and get to the heart of who they are and digging deep into that person, right? So this might seem super challenging if you have somebody like this in your life, but getting super interested in them and just asking them questions to find out why they are the way that they're. And they might get irritated while you're asking these questions, right? But just showing up to them in that way, because usually the person who's like that doesn't get hurt enough. They don't feel seen, and they feel like they have to control situations. If you truly, it's Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? It's
yep,
being genuinely interested in people. If you're genuinely interested in that a-hole and you genuinely want to help them, if you show up with a heart posture of like, I want to help this a-hole, I'd love for this person to change, and I want my mindset to change towards them, you'll find something will break in that situation. Something will change with that person, with you. Will it change them for everybody else? Hopefully, you can plant that seed, but you can change those relationships I would say this is a situation like where you have to deal with that person. If you don't have to deal with them, just get away from them. There's no reason to,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah. No,
But
that's
if you
right.
have a,
That's right.
if you have a heart to want to change them, or if you have to deal with
There you
them,
go. Yep,
building that
yep.
relationship with them is going to be really powerful, and it'll change you too.
It definitely will. It definitely will. And I'm glad you brought. I was going to ask you about the that that fine line of walking away or taking the energy and doing what you're talking about. And it's your choice. There are
Yeah.
people you're going to walk away. You're going to want to walk away from.
Well, I think
And
people put, yeah, people are put
but
in
there
your
are
life
people that,
though.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, put people are put in your life.
People are put in your life for a reason. Like there's people that are put in your life to help you grow, and they might be sucking the life out of you. And maybe you just get away from them. Maybe that's one thing. You learn how to dodge that situation, or man, you could really change somebody's life. And when you learn how to like deal with those kinds of people, it changes your life
It
dramatically.
definitely
Because
does.
now
It
you're like,
definitely
holy
does.
cow, this whole time, this person been driving me nuts for years. And now we're cool. Now because I
Yeah.
showed up differently. Now because I actually um put some work in. Nobody ever put work in with this person. You can tell when
Yeah.
somebody's being a
Yeah.
jerk all the time. Things
Yeah.
changed. Man, that's a powerful thing, or a really, really powerful thing to have happen. That I think I truly believe people are put in your life for a reason. And whether you choose, you can choose to find breakthrough in that or not.
Absolutely. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, right. Yeah,
I like to say, like to say to myself, yeah, you know what? The reason why I've been put here is to make this world better than the day I landed on it. But
yeah,
there are times when I'm going to say, this is not worth it. I'm going to leave this to
yeah.
somebody else.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
but I will tell you to what you were saying. Um, there is magic in love, and there is magic in forgiveness. And especially when you're dealing with a-holes, if you can look at them in your heart and say, you know what, I forgive you for who you are and what you, I mean, the old thing, you're not an asshole. You just do a-hole things, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if you can get to a point of love and forgiveness, it 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 really does change the world. It really does change the world.
It changes. Yeah, it's interesting how it changes your world. Like it changes. I'll give you the best example I can think of. My mom, my stepmom is she was not an a-hole, but we always had issues. And I chose at one point in time a few years ago to just show up different, right? So I was going to go to my dad's house and I was just going to see her. I always avoided her. But instead I came in, I gave her a big hug. I said, "Hey, Jody, how you doing?" Told her I loved her, asked her how she'd been. When it was dinner time, she would usually get up after dinner and clean the dishes while my dad and I sat at the table. And I got up and helped her do the dishes and just kind of like at one point I put my arm around her. She would get emotional often. So I like consoled her about something that was going on. And it like something broke that day. Something broke where I was like, man, all she's ever wanted was for me to see her, I guess, is what it was for her. At least
A
that's what
little
it
bit of
felt
love.
like. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, like, it's just a different relationship. It changed because
Yeah.
I chose to change. And I guess some, I think also you have to be ready to change. Um, I was ready. I had been ready for a long time, but I didn't know what to do. But when I stepped in that day and I did that, it was like, wow,
You broke the pattern.
just a totally, yeah, that's exactly it, man. I broke this pattern that I was creating. Whether
Yeah.
she has her own patterns, but I had a pattern and I broke it and it changed the way things were.
Kim
Changed the way
Sorrell,
things, yeah.
absolutely. No, Kim Sorrell, who's a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful person and a great friend of mine. She told me once, and one of the things she teaches is that it doesn't take two to tango. It takes one. It takes one, right? It doesn't when you're in a relationship, people think it's 50-50. It's not 50-50. You can change the entire relationship by changing you,
Yeah.
right? And when you change yourself, the other person oftentimes follows,
Or they grow
and
further away.
or they
One of
grow
the two,
further away.
one of two things happens.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, and if you're in a close relationship, you want to do the things that will bring you together, obviously. But it only takes one. It only takes one to make that change, and that's what you
yeah,
did, Rob. And that's amazing. That's amazing. Listen, we're gonna close this out. I would love to have you back sometime. This has been
sure,
such a
John.
fun conversation.
Yeah, man. And I'd
But
love to have you come on the Unstuck Movement, my podcast. You should come
I'm
on there
not.
and tell your story.
Just tell me when. Just tell me
All right,
when, and I'll be there.
cool.
What do you want to leave the audience with?
Uh, what do I want to leave the audience with? I just, damn, how can you show up? Let's just go with the last thing I said because I think it's so important and I think it applies to everything. How could you show up differently? Whatever that situation is in your life that's like holding you back, whether it's a person or a topic or, if it's money or people or whatever the thing is, how could you show up differently? And
I
if you
love
did
it.
show up and just try it. Try, okay, here's how I always show up. What would be the reverse of that? Try that and see what happens. Just that's just a challenge to see how it goes.
Experiment, experiment, experiment. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And do something different. It instantly reminded me of Einstein's comment where he said insanity, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Show up differently, folks, and something different will happen. And it could change. I love that, Rob. I love way to
And it's
close this. Way to
easier
close
said than
this.
done. Easier said than done, but
Yep.
definitely worth
Yep.
trying.
Perfect. Perfect. Rob, thank you again. I've said this twice, but I love you. God bless you. And
Same to
everybody
you,
out
John.
there,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. And everybody out there, share this. Please share this. And because there are folks out there who are in desperate need of hearing this message that Rob shared with us today. I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.